backside of the motor is held on by U-bolts. This is the bolt that came with the kit. It's clearly not long enough. I just went up to Menards and bought some longer ones. And what I'm going to do is push some of this black heat shrink around here, like this one, and shrink it on there so it doesn't scratch the shit out of my frame. Not that I really care too much about this bike. I mean, it was a freebie. But it is a cool bike, especially with the new handlebars. I'm like, oh, this thing's cool. So anyways, I'm going to slip this on and I'll show you. Alright, so here's with the heat shrink on. There's a little bit of ripples, but it's still going to keep the metal from being metal on metal. It's actually pretty squishy. Alright, that's just a little tip, and I actually might slide a piece of rubber between here. I have Goodyear rubber roofing. I have strips. I'm going to cut a piece and wrap it on there. Just a little tip. So I just had the bright idea to hang the bike from the ceiling because there's no good place to work on it in this shop. It's such a tiny little shop. It's a little barn. You know, the garage is full of treasures. You can't put shit in the garage. But yeah, this is gonna be easy. The motor here is right in my face, and I could figure where I want this exactly and tighten it down, put the crank all back together, and I'll take it from there. Hi folks, and welcome back to Old School Studios. So a couple developments. Got the tires on. I just went and bought a new back rim and a freewheel back sprocket, single back sprocket. It's not black, but who cares? I have this plate upside down. So, if you look down here, the distance between the bolt that bolts it to the motor and here, this part is longer, and it should be hanging down to about here, giving me room for my clutch lever. So I didn't have to cut the clutch lever after all. I am going to flip this over right here. Got the sprockets on, and I had to use this bushing. It's a lock bushing that has a grub screw for a spacer. So what I did was I cranked the pedals on with 2 sockets and 2 breaker bars. I cranked as tight as I could, squeezing this to the bearings, and then I set the set screw. But I am going to take it back apart because I want to get some grease inside here. I didn't really think I was going to put it together so tightly, but I did, and I'm going to undo it and shoot some grease in there on the bearings because I don't recall what they looked like. I had these pedals I found, I can't remember where I had it. There was a brand new pack, and they turn purple when they're in the sunlight, I think. I don't know. I have a different set of pedals I might put on. Where are they? I got these Gates pedals. And yeah, so I might put those on. I bought a new chain, and it was so cheap. It was a Schwinn chain, and it was like so skinny and cheap that I just kept the other one on. I would say that with my chain is kind of loose. and I'm really not sure what to do about that. If I take a link off, I actually have to take to put the master link back on, I would have to take like technically two links, like this link and this link, to get back to where I could connect it. I guess I have some adjustment right here, and I could bring this down, but I kind of liked it set way back up in there. Decisions. What else did I do? I kind of, while it was hanging here in front of me, I got the tires on. I put new green slime tubes in. And apparently these, they self-seal. I've used it on a couple BMX bikes, and I can't say that I had a problem with them after that. This was the, put a Shimano $32.99 I got from a bike store. And the rim. He put it together for me for free. Nice guy. I told him I would say his name, but you know what? He didn't give me no discount, and he wasn't that friendly, so he ain't getting shit. So I'm gonna go ahead and take these 3 bolts off in this retaining clip here and pull this off, undo these 2 bolts that aren't super tight in the motor, and these 2 bolts that aren't super tight. Actually, they're just hand tight, and I'm gonna go ahead and flip this plate around 180 degrees and rebolt it to the motor, and then stick it right back up here. As you could see, my pedal clears nicely, and the one thing I did like about these pedals was it had the smaller threads and then an insert into the bigger thread, and it gave me more room between my foot and the motor because I put this pull starter kit on the motor. Alright, so as soon as I do that, I'm going to be able to have my clutch working properly, and I'm going to run my... Actually, I want to take my handlebars off and really give them a good scrubbing, because I see some surface rust that I could get off with like SOS pads, but I'm going to have to like really give them a scrubbing. And alright, that was just a little quickie update. We'll be back when this is on the ground, and we'll be putting all of our cables on, fitting the gas tank, putting the chains on for the final, fitting this chain over here. It was in perfect alignment with my sprocket too. I was like really happy with that. I don't know if you can see from this angle, my sprocket up there is absolutely in perfect alignment. So look for the next episode where this is on the ground and we are making it happen. Have a good day! Hi folks, and welcome back to Old School Studios. In a previous episode, I discussed this plate being upside down. So, with that being said, this nut right here is right up alongside of this plate. So in order to take this plate off, I have to take off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts, remove those bolts, and then I should be able to slide this whole mechanism out, take these 2 bolts off, flip it upside down so the short part is coming up. See how there's the difference between there and there and there and there? Well, I did not know that I was putting it in 180 degrees upside down. So that's what I'm going to go and do. And bike itself, I was able to rebuild this hub, and I'm all good with that. I took it all apart. I greased and put a load of grease up in my bearings inside on both sides. I have the freewheel back rim and green slime tubes, different handlebars. So this is coming along. The only thing that's holding me up right now is this plate being upside down. It was in the way of my clutch lever, and the angle of clutch, where your clutch comes through on an angle right through here, it doesn't give you a whole lot of variance. It kind of goes right to the clutch, so this can't be here. And I mean, I could just drill 2 holes right here, but you know, I'm just going to flip it upside down, and we'll be back at you. Okay, so after trying to fit this thing and grinding it to sit flat and flush, what I ended up doing was grinding off this little tab right here. I want this plate to sit flush against the motor, and I can't grind anymore because the holes are right on the edge. So voila, it sits nice and comfortable. And the only other issue I see is getting a nut back behind here. Okay, so now one other thing to keep in mind. This kit came with this thing. And when the original studs were coming out of the motor, it slid over those studs, and then the plate would be like this. But then what do you see? It's in the way of this bolt. You can't put that nut on when this nut's on, and you can't put this nut on if this nut's on. So I have the little studs. I'm putting this thing as tight as I could to the motor block. Crank it tight. Lock washers. And I'll worry about fishing a nut through here. Although, I might be able to put... Hold on a sec. If I had one of these that was square, I could pre-put it in coming this way and sandwich the frame going this way and cut off, grind off the amount of bolt that's not being used. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run to Menards or Lowe's and get me a square one of these so it goes in and then crank this thing on. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Alright. So I went and grabbed one and I grabbed the wrong size. I'm just kidding, I had this in the shop. I'm going to go to Lowe's and grab one of these, but it looks like this, but this size, so it sits flush against the back side of here. That's what I'll do. Okay, I had an idea. Found 2 bolts, 5/16. They fit right up there. This fits in here like this, but I have a feeling that this might come back and bite me in the ass if this shaft right here is too long. I may have to stack washers and it might be boogered. It fits like a glove. I would be able to slide a wrench under there and get a wrench on that to tighten it, and I can put the nut on this side. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. We're going to see how bad this bites me in the ass. Okay, with these 2 bolts on, with lock washers, as tight as I want to make them, I did not have enough room in between here to slide this plate. It's still questionable, but I have narrowed it down, the part that slips in there, with an angle grinder. So we're going to finesse that in there, and we'll be back. The whole thing looks crooked, but we're going with it. Okay, well, I already discovered that I can't do it this way because the frame has to slip between here. There's no way to get with this bolt in place. Wow, this kit is jinky, man. This is jinky. Absolutely jink. Alright, plan C. Okay, so what I did, I'm leaving one of them, and this one I'm going to try to fish the nut in from behind, and I'm going to have to cut the bolt exactly to make it fit. But I think this will work. I'm going to leave this one so I can still slip the frame within here. Alright, we'll be back. Let's get this together. So on this one, I put a bolt between there because when I put this nut on, it was pulling this whole thing over and my jack shaft was coming out of, it should be horizontal with this, and it was like pushing out. So I took an 8mm nut and slid it in there, cranked this has threads in it, cranked it in, and now I could put the lock washer, lock washer, and lock nut on there. Alright folks, so I was working on my motor mounts, and I got this one dialed in, the lower motor mount. I could chop these off. The upper motor mount I'm not 100% happy with, but it is up in there and it's tight. It looks crooked, and it looks like it's kind of close to my chain, but I might mess with that. So my front motor mount was so far away, so I took a bracket and 8mm bolts, and I cut them down to about 5/8 of an inch long and put them up in there with a bumper bolt with a nut, cranking it tight to this plate, coming down this plate, drill the hole, put a nut on, and crank that tight. And then another one of these bent plates that did kind of fit around my frame. And this was just all using stuff that I had in my shop. So I might perfect that now that I know. I mean, that motor ain't going nowhere. It's got 3 points of connection, and I could clean this up and maybe when I get to Lowe's buy the correct things I need. And like I said, this one I might redo it. I have one bolt coming from this direction going this way. This bolt is going this way, and it's sandwiched in there. The one thing I really don't like is how close it is to my chain. And so alright, we are getting there. My clutch is clear. I don't have to cut the clutch lever like I thought I was going to have to. And we're making progress. This doesn't leave me a whole lot of room for my carburetor right here, so I might have to do something with this. Make my own manifold and like aim it out, and I could make it out of copper and brass, and that might look actually pretty sick. My exhaust pipe, I don't know if that's gonna work. My son is a certified welder. I might have him weld me up an exhaust pipe. So we are making progress with the bike. My brakes, front brakes I put on. I do need new brake shoes. I think they will work. My brake shoes are old. The back brakes, I have to drill a hole right here, and I'll wait till the bike is down. It's hanging from the ceiling right now, just so the motor was in my face, and then I didn't have to bend over like an animal. My shop is being occupied by other projects. I still have this project in the middle of being worked on, and I have this project that's still being worked on. And I have this little project that's being worked on. So we jumped ahead to this project because I am going to Florida in July. And my bike that I rode last time in Florida had issues. And so he's got a new motor, new jackshaft, new tires. I'm going to pick up a new chain. I did pick up a new chain, but it was a piece of shit, so I'm back with the old chain. Alright folks, thank you for watching Old School Studios. Stay tuned till the next episode. Have a good day!